Okay, welcome, brother Tim. It's such a blessing to have you with us. You're here in Utica, New York today, and you're ready to share your story. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
My name is Tim Siegel. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. I live in Lubbock, Texas. I've been living there for 30 years, half my life. I'll actually be 60 years old next week. Lubbock, Texas is dear to my heart because I was a tennis coach at Texas Tech for 23 years. And I love what the community has done and supported us because of what happened to my son. July 28th of 2015, my son was in a golf cart accident and he suffered an anoxic and traumatic brain injury. He was in cardiac arrest for 7 minutes, and we were in Lubbock Hospital for 44 days and then 4 months in a hospital, Cook Children's Hospital in Fort Worth. We were told Luke would never use his limbs, use his voice, or open his eyes. He did all three. He was a fighter. He was an athlete before the injury, and I became Luke's primary caregiver for 6 years. I stayed with him at night. I turned him, I fed him, I changed him, gave him his meds, took him to therapies. Even though we had nursing care, I was there with Luke all the time because I felt like I needed to be there and I wanted to be there for him. We had a very special bond prior to the accident, a different type of bond, almost a spiritual bond, the two of us together all the time. And what we were told Luke wasn't going to do, I knew that we were going to do. And he would make sounds. I would ask Luke to move his tongue on command, and he would move his tongue. So I knew he was in there. He was nonverbal, but he made sounds and was just a remarkable, miraculous little boy. But in 2021, August 19th, Luke passed away from COVID at the age of 15.
And he was only one son for you, right?
Yes, I have 3 daughters, and Luke was my youngest and my only son.
Could you please tell a little bit about the details of the accident that happened with him?
Luke was at a friend's house. They were 9 years old, and they were on a city street, unsupervised, on a modified golf cart, meaning that it was taller and faster and heavier. And you see a lot of neighborhoods all over the country where there are golf carts. Kids used to walk or ride their bikes, and now you see kids on golf carts and ATVs, and the golf cart landed on top of Luke's chest, and he suffered head and chest trauma. And so I'm an advocate, of course, for golf cart safety. But I know that Luke's injury, the accident that happened, has changed a lot of people's feelings regarding golf carts. They're much safer. I'm doing a lot of talking about golf cart safety around the country. And so hopefully the accident has helped families think twice about having their child be on a golf cart unsupervised.
You shared a little bit about bitterness and unforgiveness that you had towards the people who were close to him when everything happened. How you deal with that? How did you overcome everything?
I'm glad that I can say that I have overcome, because it took 8 years to deal with my bitterness, to deal with my anger, the inability to forgive. I was told by so many people, you can't heal until you forgive. Yes, I know that, but easier said than done. But I was able to forgive the family, the hospital, things that happened at the scene. August 3rd of last year, I read a book about forgiveness, and in a matter of seconds, I forgave the family, and I felt free. I felt lighter. And I know what really happened that day. I prayed about that a lot, and I finally was able to do that, and I think it was because, and I know it was because I surrendered to God and said, okay. I never asked God why when Luke had his accident, but I've always been a man of faith since I was a young boy, traveling the world as a professional tennis player, feeling God's presence with me all the time. But in this case, I didn't have anger towards God, but I didn't really have the ability to say, okay, I trust you, I surrender. And I did that on August 3rd of last year. I'm still full of sadness, full of heartache, heartbreak that my little boy is not here with me. I always used to say that Luke was going to speak, but He is speaking. He's just speaking through me.
And today you're helping many other children who had the same situation or who are in the same situation like Luke was.
I started the Team Luke Hope for Minds nonprofit in January of 2018. And I have an incredible staff, a partner, Rhonda Johnson, 6 others that are on staff, 15 board members. We currently are in 47 states helping families all over the country, including here in New York. We have given out over $500,000 each of the last 3 years. We offer financial support, education, support groups online, free counseling. We have a pediatric brain injury conference every year. We used to get applications a couple times a week. Now we get a couple per day. I don't think people could ever understand or realize the amount of brain injuries among children there are all over the country. Golf cart, ATV accidents, car accidents, accidents at home, non-fatal drownings. We see all these so often, and it's gut-wrenching, it's heartbreaking, but it's also heartwarming knowing that I can offer support and give some sense of hope to families who are going through the unknown, because no doctor can predict exactly what's going to happen to a brain. Every brain injury is different. But what I do know is Luke improved because of the love that he got from his family, therapists, doctors, and he was truly the epitome of a fighter.
You mentioned number 3, that it was his favorite number, and some things happened on the 3rd day of the month or something like that. Yeah.
Number 3 has been a part of our life. It was my favorite number, it was my wife's favorite number, and so in some ways Luke had no choice but to have number 3. But it is a very powerful number, obviously, in the Bible. It's the second most used number after number 7. I always think about that number. In Lubbock, Texas, the football team at Texas Tech does not give out the number 3. The coach gives it to the hardest worker, the greatest fighter, in honor of my son. Court 3 at the Texas Tech tennis courts is the Luke Siegel court. And so everybody associates 3 with my son. March, the 3rd month of the year, is March's Brain Injury Awareness Month. So there's so many parallels, so many, I don't think, coincidences. They are a God thing. And on July 3rd, I had a really bad day, talking to a father who found his son at the bottom of the pool, and I felt tremendous rage and anger for what happened to him and what happened to me. August 3rd, 1 month later, I happened to be reading this book about forgiveness, and that's the day that I forgave. And so the worst day of July of 2023 was on July 3rd. The best day was on August 3rd. But this number happens all the time. Things that I believe. I wrote a book in 2019 called It's in God's Hands. And the title came when the surgeon told me that there was no other option for my son, that it was no longer in his hands, it was in God's hands. So I wrote this book about being a caregiver, being the father of a child who had a brain injury. And then I recently came out with this book last December called Fight Like Luke, Transforming Grief into Love, Strength, and Faith. And because so many people go through different forms of grief, loss of a job, a relationship, a grandparent, a family member. And so I think this book applies to a lot of different people. And it was hard to read, it was hard to write. But I also know that it's helping some people. And that's important to me because there's nothing quite like helping others.
Thank you very much. And I have this little card who mentioned 7 inspirations from Luke. Could you share about that with us today?
The day before I was to speak at my daughter's middle school, 1 year after Luke's accident, I was speaking at FCA in front of about 300 or 400 kids. And I thought, what can I talk about that will apply to everyone, whether they're 8 or 88? And so I came up with, at the time, 5 inspirations from Luke. Find your passion. I lost my passion, a lot of my passion, but I've regained it by helping families with Team Luke Hope for Minds. The second one is don't ever quit. That applies to everybody every day, doesn't it? There were moments I didn't know if I could keep going, but I would look to my left or my right and I would see Luke and I would never give up. The third one is to lean on friends, family, coaches, siblings, parents, pastor, God. I leaned on no one for a long time, but I also now realize how important it is to have sometimes just, hey, how are you, goes a long way. So my message to people is when they see someone having a difficult day, going up to that person saying, are you okay today? How are you? Goes a long way. At the same time, if you are having a difficult day, don't keep things inside. Find someone that you trust. The fourth is to make good choices, be careful. I told my children all the time, make good choices. I never talked to Luke about a golf cart because I didn't know this family owned it. But every day we have to make good choices and to be careful, because in 1/2 of a second, your life can change. The fifth one is to have faith. You know, without my faith in Jesus Christ, I don't know that I could be doing what I'm doing today. It's been a long road. My faith has been tested for sure every day, but I don't know how I could survive without it. And then I added a sixth one a couple of years ago, and that's find forgiveness. And I used to talk about how I'm a work in progress. I'm not yet there finding forgiveness, but today I can say that I have found forgiveness. And the seventh one is to let a loved one's legacy live on through you, and that's what I'm doing with Luke. So that is the core of what I talk about when I give speeches. There's a couple of quick stories I would like to add, and that is that 1 year after the accident, I was driving around Lubbock, and I was really having a hard time, and I ended up at a parking lot not far from where the accident was. And I had my head down on the steering wheel, and all of a sudden there's a knock on my windshield. Hey, I'm praying for you, 1 foot in front of the other. And then he walked away. So 1 foot in front of the other has become a motto. It's a cliche, but it's real. Every day I try to put 1 foot in front of the other. Some days I take 2 steps back, but I'm always trying to put 1 foot in front of the other. The last story is that I was standing up and Luke was next to me, and I've never had someone walk right past us without at least acknowledging us. A sympathetic hello, can I pray for your son? This woman walked right past us with her head down, didn't look at us. But then 5 feet after, she turned and she said, you were chosen for this. She walked away. And I guess you could say that I have been chosen for this. My experience as a professional tennis player, as a coach, dealing with adversity and things like that, maybe has given me the strength to do this. And Luke has inspired so many people. We're on Facebook, Luke's Legacy, Pray for Luke on Facebook. And not only has he inspired, but others inspired Luke. Drew Brees was the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, was Luke's hero. And Drew has done an event for us. We go to New Orleans Saints games before the accident and then after the accident, and the team was just so full of love and care for Luke when he was there. Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, has never played a football game for the Chiefs without on his right wrist wearing the Fight Like Luke, the Team Luke Hope for Minds bracelet. Andre Agassi, former professional tennis player, has done the same. So we have a lot of famous athletes that have reached out to us, which is just powerful. It means the world to me knowing that my son has made such an impact on so many people.
The last question that I want to mention today about fathers. Like, we have good father who is in heaven, but here on this earth, like, we have many fathers who are unfortunately didn't do what they supposed to do. You showed a great example as a father, like the sacrificial love. You are here, you were close to your son in the difficult moments, like all these years. What can you say to fathers, and what happened with our fathers today?
When I got married, I knew in my heart of hearts the one thing I couldn't wait was to be a father. It's the greatest responsibility in the world. It's the most important thing we can do. I cared so much about, I have 3 daughters and a son who's in heaven, and then I also have 4 grandchildren, and I respect those that are good fathers, that are involved. I think it's so important to be involved with your children. I know who my children's friends are. I know what they're doing. I speak to my girls every day. Luke and I were attached at the hip. We talk sports every day. I was at every sporting event, his practices. I tried to teach Luke and my girls the important things in life, belief in God, morals, doing the right thing. And I guess my message to fathers is that don't take it for granted. It's the most important, most powerful thing you can do. And hopefully my message and being a father who cares so deeply about this will make some sort of an impact on others. I've also made mistakes, because when I was with Luke all that time, I wasn't there enough for my girls, because I was so focused on taking care of Luke. And then when Luke passed away, I was so full of grief that I had a hard time. And so I'm trying to do what I can to make up for lost time with my girls. And so that's a regret that I have, but at the same time, moving forward and doing the best I can as a dad now is all I can really do.
You take inspirations from where? Because when you feel that you are lack of joy or inspiration, or because all the time you gave yourself to your son, where did you take the strength for yourself, for your spirit, for your soul?
You know, that's a good question. I think sometimes the last person I focus on is me. From sleep to nutrition to exercise, those things are so critical for children, for parents who've got a child with a brain injury, or just parents in general. And so my inspiration, you know, my family, my friends have been there for me. But once again, I don't know how I could survive without my faith. That's really been the inspiration for me. And some would ask, how is it possible to have more faith in God after losing a son? It's an interesting question, but it's one that I can wholeheartedly say that I have more faith than I ever have. My heart hurts, I'm in pain, I'm sad, but I don't have anger, I've forgiven. And I think if there's one thing that I would like to stress to everyone listening today, and that is that if you feel like there is someone that you need to forgive, forgive. And that's important. We all have that. And it will be freeing, and it's important to move forward. And we only have one life on earth. And I'm going to do the best I can to make the most of it for the rest of my life, helping others and being there for my family.
Thank you very much, Brother Tim. May God bless you and reward you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.